right, you're welcome once again to your favorite program on TV. This is Crossfire. This is a show where we bring all matters arising to you. This is a show where we throw light and elaborate and explain and argue and debate on pressing matters in the society. Nigeria is such a complex entity, it's a complex polity as we look at it economically, politically, and every otherwise. But one very big question in the mind of a lot of Nigerians is, where is Nigeria heading to? For me, I know that Nigeria is heading for greatness. This nation is a great nation, and there's no cause for alarm as we take advantage of our resources, both personnel and natural resources. Nigeria is a very rich country. This country has been on the verge of greatness before, and we're returning there. Welcome once again, and with me running the show this morning is Barrister Isioma Againe.
Good morning, Nigerians, and you're welcome to the show.
All right, the state of the nations, matters arising. That is exactly what we're looking on the show today. And we'll be focusing on electoral violence. Ever since we shifted attention away from the successes that we believe that the Nigerian military are achieving in the northeastern part of the nation, and believing very seriously that INEC has successfully provided a good platform for the election in 2015 to take place come March the 28th and April the 11th. Now, we believe very strongly that the electorate need this vital education, and that is to let us know that this election is nothing worth losing our lives for. It is not worth dying for. It is not a do-or-die affair. Electoral violence, there was a school of thought. They sat down and they looked at it very well, and they said that there are hot spots during this election, and some states have been categorized as red. They have been marked as red. Lagos, Oyo State, Ekiti State have been marked as red. Other states, about 19 other states, has also been marked as amber, and some got a green. The civil rights organization, Clean Foundation, has identified Lagos, Oyo, and 19 other states in the country have a likely violent hotspots and potential melting points during the March 28th and April the 11th elections. This was contained in a security threat assessment report by a non-governmental organization. The report was released at a press briefing in Lagos, last week Thursday, and then it's been a building story. It was titled Election Security Threat Assessment towards 2015 elections. The report pointed out that Lagos, Oyo, and Ekiti State could experience violence during the elections due to the bloodshed and violence recorded in some political rallies which had held in the southwest region. It is also said that the possible threat of violence could be heightened in the named states because Southwest votes will be crucial in deciding the winner of the presidential election. In the same vein, the report noted that the battle against Boko Haram insurgency in the Northeast would define the general elections in that part of the country. In this report, the 21 states identified as violent hotspots were labeled red to indicate their high degree as violent hotspots, while 15 remaining states in the Federation have been categorized, as, amber and green. All right, Isioma, let's begin to look at it very closely, but we will not go into discussing this. We'll quickly take one or two stories making headlines, and then when we finish that after our first break, then we'll be addressing this matter, electoral violence. And considering that 21 states altogether have been marked as hotspots during the election, and that means they've been marked that they are violent prone. Isioma, all right, let's take your first story.
Okay,
and,
one of the stories I have here. Yesterday, the Federal High Court in Lagos declared as unlawful the deployment of soldiers for maintaining peace and security during the elections. And the court relied on the provision of Section 217, sub 2, paragraph C of the Constitution and the provision of Section 1 of the Armed Forces Act. So apparently, even though I know you of the opinion that we should have a militarized election.
Yeah, election.
And yesterday, I said this on Edo briefly. On my way to the office, I saw heavy security, military presence on the street, and the first thing that occurred to me, I was scared. Even though I have lived all my life with, around military men, but seeing them on the streets, with that with all stern looking, with ammunitions, I felt we were, approaching a war situation. And I can imagine how, many other individuals feel. So for me, I know I've always been of the opinion that I believe we do not need military men on the street on the day of the elections.
Anyway,
well, the court has ruled, and I hope our government will be able to.
I hope so. For me,
obey the court order.
Yeah, for me, looking at stern-looking or considering the stern-looking attributes of the soldiers, it is a job that they've been called up for. They are called up for very serious business, and so even when they say police is your friend, soldiers are not. They have nothing. No slogan is making them your friend in the first place.
Justice is more of their
but
friend.
one thing that comes to mind, when it comes to, election militarization, it's not because we want the soldiers to actually man our polling booths and our polling centers. What we're simply saying is that, look at the topic we're considering today, and 19 plus three other major states, Lagos State, Oyo State, and Ekiti State, have been marked as, in fact, over red. I think it's pepper red. That's to let people know that, these 3 states, everybody who are going to be voting in those 3 states have to be extremely, extremely very careful as they go out on that day to perform their civic responsibility. My concern majorly is that if the soldiers are well informed and trained and instructed, the possibility that they don't really know what it takes to be able to maintain law and order when it comes to managing the electorate, it may be there. But I'm saying that if information have been passed across to them and they're telling them, man the major roads, ensure that everybody passing through one major road or the other are connected directly to the success of the election, that they are not actually miscreants who are trying to look for, find their way to a particular area or arena where they can actually disrupt, the peaceful election that we are expecting in Nigeria. So I am saying that even with the court ruling,
I think I kind of agree with you on that note. But another issue, look at it. I know this happened, was it late last year or thereabout? It was everywhere on TV, at least how some fake military men were apprehended, and then they found out that they were not even genuine military men. But the truth is, these are some certainties. Of course, there was a rumor also that in some particular states, a particular individual, particular governor of that state, had already, prepared police uniforms to give out to some thugs so that they would appear on the day of the election to look like policemen. And of course, now having also remembering what happened, when these individuals were unraveled and they were, embarrassed in public, because their pictures and their facial identity was being, publicized to the media, so that people watching will also know that this individual, probably you've had a dealing with him in the past, he is not a true, military officer. He has been impersonating the Nigerian military. But I also want to believe that some political thugs on the day of the election, political thugs or some political individuals who do not have the interest of the nation at heart, but their own selfish interest may result to using the military to hamper the
I slightly agree with you.
That's my own opinion.
Yeah, I get you, and it makes a lot of sense, sincerely. But I just want to say, when I say relative, that means we possibly could have the security agents, especially the police, being impersonated, for these particular elections. Don't forget that the elections have been built around them. And I know that in recent past, more police officers have, when it comes to impersonation, a lot of police officers have been, the police have been, impersonated more than the military guys. So the tendency that we would have some of them coming out in the police regalia, in the police uniform, to come and display or purport to be police officers, that are scheduled to control the electoral process come, Saturday. And don't forget, election is just in 4 days' time. And we are still having this hot polity. When I say hot polity, exactly, because should we not, if court is just ruling 4 days to the elections, that the election should not be militarized, there is every possibility that the government of the day, not particularly because of the elections, but I mean, in one way because of the elections, and in another way because he is still the ruling president. He needs to ensure. Let's assume he is not contesting. Let's assume he is not contesting.
But what if the military is now used in his favor? Because he's
that's what I'm about to say.
But he's also a contender.
Exactly, because he's contending, his position is actually compromised. And because if he's not contesting, for instance, I mean, like the situation in which Obasanjo was before Yar'Adua Jonathan ticket was launched against all the other parties who participated. You know, the concern here was that at that time, former President Obasanjo was neutral. He was only able to provide, you know, the enabling environment for a very peaceful election. And that was because that time he was going out. He was not recontesting. And that is the position Jonathan has found himself.
A lot of persons would disagree with you on that because...
No, because he still will have to preside over the nation as our president. And at the same time protect his interest, you know, as a contender in the forthcoming elections.
Well, we can only hope whatever decision is made, which finally should... I believe it should be in the interest of the nation.
Yes.
Not just for any political
hopefully that, I mean, those decisions were taken unbiased and is for the interest of the larger population of our country. Let's quickly take this other story. Dubious confab report approval. Election 2015. I mean, don't forget that the confab, I think the meeting, the confab, I mean, the conference ended and the report put together. Everything was finalized since 2014. I mean, 2014 was a year that we can say we are preparing for another elections come 2015. And reliably told also was that that report has actually been pending, even though nothing has been done before now. But we have a scenario in which, I mean, there is hurriedly, you know, and then, you know, the secretary to the federal government came out, Pius, he came out to say that the presidency has given a go-ahead for the implementation of so many of the concerns that have been captured, you know. And then I would like to read this. He said something here, and he said, okay, he said there is nothing, you know, altruistic or patriotic about the, you know, Federal Executive Council reckless authoritative approval of a document that holds so much hope for the country's social economic transformation, but has been sacrificed on the altar of personal political ambition. And that is I mean, that is a crime to humanity. That's a crime to us as Nigerians, that you just want to do this to appeal so as for you to mop up, you know, votes across all the states of the federation. For instance, if Ijebu State is approved for Ogun State we want to go in, you know, in the government of the day's direction to saying that, okay, if it's eventually going to implement this, that means we're going to have an additional state in Ogun State. Yeah, I mean, cut out from Ogun State, which is the Ijebu State that was...
Can I ask you one honest question? Because this is something that has been, you know, heavy in my mind. Do you think we need additional states created in Nigeria?
Really and truly, Nigeria is a very big space. If I want to answer your question very directly, I may say that, okay, I can grade it in ratio like 60 to 40. 60 that we need it, 40 that we may not need it. Because the existing 36 states of the Federation are still well under development, you know, I mean, underdeveloped. And if we have additional states, we're just, you know, cumbering and accessing more responsibility to eventually developing this entity called Nigeria.
But the truth is, we don't, in my own opinion,
I mean, is Delta State as developed as you wish it is? Ogun State is not as developed as I wish it is. But the truth is, we do not need these extra states. Let's focus on the ones we have in the system. Because I want to believe, I may be wrong, but I want to believe some individuals who pushed for that did so out of their own selfish interest, so that when the state is being broken into smaller states, they know they will have control over it. So they can also get part of the allocation. Is that what we need? Look at the number of persons we have in these several states who are not cared for. Focus on caring for your people. There are people that don't have jobs. We have unemployment.
Some of them are living in slums, and then you're telling me you want to create more states. States for what? Is that what we need? Focus on addressing the issues on ground to develop the lives of the people and the current existing state.
Anyway, for me, I think this is another great level of impunity displayed, by the ruling government to just hurriedly want to put up the report of the confab and say implement everything there is. For me, it is something that is not called for. Anyway, I know many people are watching us there, and some of these headline stories or these trending stories are of concern. And you can call us and be a part of the show, as usual, and let us know your thoughts on some of this. We will be going into the discussion for today when we come back from this short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. This is Crossfire, and we've been looking at trending stories. We considered the story around the implementation of the confab report. I mean, that the federal government has decided to execute in a hurry. And we analyzed it and came up to a point that this is a very great level of impunity in display. Having, 36 states of the federation that are still underdeveloped. Their government today are still struggling, to build the states to make it, really look good. There's unemployment, there's housing problem, there's housing problem, there's security problem. All of these problems have not been sorted, and yet we want to bring in more states.
For me, I'm of the opinion we should scrap totally the whole state thing, and let's go back to our regions.
All right. Okay. At this point in time, we'll be looking at electoral violence. Lagos, Oyo, and all the 19 states have been marked as hotspot. I will be looking at the criteria that has actually qualified some of these states as hotspots. And this program, don't forget, we promise and we promote every little thing that will make sure that we go all out on Saturday, the 28th of March, to perform our civic responsibility, and we return back to our various homes in one piece. God forbid that, this election result in any form of violence. We are really praying and we are doing everything to make sure that this does not happen. All right, at this point, we're going to be looking at all the states that have been marked as red. And all of these states, including Lagos, Oyo, and Ogun State, other states identified as hotspots are 1, Adamawa State, Borno State, Yobe State, Taraba State, Bauchi State, Gombe State, which is in the northeast part of the country, to Benue State, Nasarawa State, Niger State, Plateau State, North Central, Kaduna State, Kano State, Katsina State, Bayelsa State, Delta State, River State, which is in the south-south, Abia and Ebonyi State in the southwestern part of Nigeria. I mean, it is of great and worthy of note that all of these states, we keep them in mind. Many of us will be performing, going to the polls in all of these states, and an assessment that have been done titled Election Security Threat Assessment. If this report is worth going by, believe you me, we need to be careful, as many of us who will be voting in all of these states. For Lagos State, Ishoma, what's your thought? I've asked you this question on the show before, that what do you think in terms of, us having a peaceful election in Lagos State? Knowing fully well, consider the fact that elections in Ekiti State, election in Oyo State, and in Lagos State, for instance, these are very volatile states. When I say volatile, I simply means the elections in those states are the few elections that you can actually say it is coming very close to what a presidential election should be like.
But the truth is, as a Lagosian by birth and by residency, I strongly believe there would not be any occasion of violence in Lagos State. There may be pockets of irregularities here and there by some miscreants, but I strongly believe there will be no occasion of large-scale violence of any sort in Lagos State. I mean,
we respect our callers very, very, very greatly. We're just about going into the major discussions, but we have a caller. Jackson is reaching us from Abuja. Good morning, Jackson.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
How are you today?
Yeah, fine. I really appreciate the discussion there. The only thing that I have a lot of things to disagree with you,
Okay.
because the COFAB, you were talking about the creation of state.
Yeah.
That is not the only good things in the creation of state. Based on the report that that was derived during that COFAB, there are a lot of good things about that COFAB.
The issue is the
To
timing.
me, I don't think it's like the way you try to.
No, we're
issue
not
is the
against
timing.
the
We're
timing,
not-
really. I mean,
I
we're
don't
not
think it's
against
a
the
political-
report.
it's
We're
not a
against the
political thing.
timing.
We are just concerned about the politics that has been put in place on the execution of the report of the CONFAB.
And then the time it will be implemented.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
what I'm saying. There is nothing like there's nothing like anything about the timing.
Oh, really?
The timing, all those just because of those are just APC propaganda. What we are saying, we believe in the restructuring of the country.
Okay.
Whatever, now that the president wants to do something about it, we should support him. The country, even the APC is not even talking about the restructuring of this country.
Really?
You understand? If PDP say they want to do it to restructure the country, we should tag the and APC. Most of the people that most of the warlords of APC, they are from the Southwest, and Southwest are known to have been charting that course of true federalism and a lot of things.
Okay.
So there's no big deal. It's a very good thing that the president said they want to implement the report because that COFAB came with there was a consensus, a very, very,
Big
grand
consensus. Yeah.
that derived the report. Now that they want to, I don't see any politics about it.
Okay.
You know, let's see that anything good that they want to come into the country, we always like to look at pitch it with
negative
the
side of
politics.
it.
To me, I don't see any politics about it.
All
so
right.
if it is like you said about the creation of state, that could be deleted from it about the creation of state. But there are other good in this parliamentary, presidential parliamentary system of government. A lot of things. And good things are there,
all right,
which will benefit even
Thank
the
you,
least
Jackson.
Nigeria. Thank you, I appreciate that.
All right, thank you very
you.
much, Jackson. You know, I said when I was saying that, see.